3. S22. 7. Zech 7. 9, 10. Mal 3. 5. Jesus displayed his concern for the welfare of the widows in Israel when he condemned the scribes as the ones devouring the houses of the widows. Mr. 12. 38-40. Lu 20. 46, 47. Christian assistance to widows. During the emergency that arose in the Christian congregation shortly after the day of Pentecost 33 CE, the Greek-speaking widows were being overlooked in the daily distribution. When it was brought to the attention of the apostles, they considered the matter so important that they appointed 7 certified men, full of spirit and wisdom, to supervise the distribution of food with equity. Acts 6. 1-6. The Apostle Paul, at 1 Timothy 5. 3-16, gave complete instructions for the loving care of widows in the Christian congregation. The congregation was to care for destitute widows. But if the widow had children or grandchildren, they should assume the responsibility of providing for her needs, or, as Paul instructed, if any believing woman has widows, that is, widows related to her, let her relieve them, and let the congregation not be under the burden. Then it can relieve those who are actually widows, that is, actually bereaved, without help. A widow put on the list for material help by the congregation was one who has become not less than 60 years old, having a good record of morality, of faithful and loving devotion to Jehovah, and of hospitality and love toward others. On the other hand, the apostle recommends that young widows remarry, bear children, and manage a household, thereby avoiding a snare, because of sexual impulses and the danger of being unoccupied. Gossipers and meddlers in other people's affairs. Jesus' half-brother James highlighted the importance of looking after orphans and widows in their tribulation when, as a requisite for worship that is clean and undefiled from God's standpoint, he set it parallel with keeping oneself without spot from the world. Ches 1. 27. Among the widows of notable faith are Tamar Ge 38. 6, 7, Naomi and Ruth 1. 3-5, Abigail 1 25. 37, 38, 42, the widow of Zarephath 1 Kai 17. 8-24, and Anna the prophetess Lu 2. 36, 37. Compare Luke's description of Anna with the qualifications of a worthy widow as outlined by Paul at 1 5. 3-16. Also, an unnamed widow was highly commended by Jesus, because she contributed all of what she had to the temple. Mr. 12. 41-44. Figurative use. Cities, when cast off and desolated, are symbolically likened to widows. Bar 1. 1. Compare Jah 51. 5. Babylon the great city that is a kingdom over the kings of the earth, boasts, like her type, ancient Babylon, that she will never become a widow. Nevertheless, just as ancient Babylon did indeed become a widow, so will modern Babylon the great. Isra 47. 8, 9. Re 17. 18. 18. 7, 8. Wife. A married woman. In Hebrew, Ishmidl.shah means woman, literally, a female man or wife. The wife was referred to as one owned by a husband. Isra 62. 4, ftn in Greek, G-middle.ne can mean wife, or it can mean woman, whether married or not. Jehovah God provided the first man Adam with a wife by taking a rib from him and building it into the woman. She thereby became bone of his bones and flesh of his flesh. She was the counterpart of Adam and was created as a helper for him. Ge 2. 18, 20-23 God dealt directly with Adam, and in turn, Adam passed on God's commandments to his wife. By reason of his prior creation and his otextoi acute muritra longo, wife 1183 and ability, while subject to their husbandly head, had much latitude and freedom of action and were happy in their place. They were blessed in being used by Jehovah God to perform special services for him. Examples among the many faithful wives of the Bible are Sarah, Rebecca, Deborah, Ruth, Esther, and Mary the mother of Jesus. Wife protected under the law. While the husband occupied the superior position in the marriage arrangement, God's requirements were that he was to provide for and care for the family in a material and spiritual way. Also, any wrongdoings of the family reflected on him. Consequently, he had a heavy responsibility. And while he had greater privileges than the wife, God's law protected the wife and gave her certain unique privileges, so that she was able to live a happy, productive life. A few examples of the law's provisions involving the wife were: either husband or wife could be put to death for adultery. If the husband was suspicious of secret infidelity on the part of his wife, he could bring her to the priest, for Jehovah God to judge the matter, and if the woman was guilty, her reproductive organs would atrophy. On the other hand, if she was not guilty, the husband was required to make her pregnant, thereby publicly acknowledging her innocence. New 5. 12-31 A husband could divorce his wife if he found something indecent on her part. This would likely include such things as showing him gross disrespect or bringing reproach upon the household or that of his father.